with Hook Outdoors Podcast from here at our Hook Outdoors retail location located here on Cave Run Lake. We've got big things going on this week here at the Cave. We've got the PMTT musky tournament. This is the opening tournament of their trail for the 2021 season. Got a lot of guys in here from all over the eastern part of the United States. We've got guys from Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan and New York State and Ohio and Pennsylvania and just all over. And it's a big field. From what I hear, there's about 125 boats going to be here, possibly a few more. That takes place Saturday and Sunday. And Saturday, there is the KHSAA high school bass tournament here at Cave Run Lake, and Evan will be able to address that a little bit more than I will when we get into the bass fishing end of things here. But there's a lot going on, and it's pretty exciting times here at the lake as the fishing season's really getting going. Well, we'll get right into it. Cave Run Lake sits at 732 feet of elevation this morning. They're pulling it around 598 CFS with well, no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. The inflow is 598 CFS, and the outflow is 4,199 CFS. So, they're pulling it pretty hard. It's coming down about 10 inches a day right now. The average temps probably are in the upper 50s considering the little cold snap we've had here for the last 2 days. We went from 70 degrees on Tuesday to about 31 and snowing yesterday morning. It's pretty cool this morning. When I got up, it was about 29 or 30 degrees here. Gradual warm up today. It's supposed to be in the 50s today and 60s tomorrow. I think around 60 Saturday, but it's supposed to be pouring rain, and then 81 by Tuesday. So, it's Kentucky. If you don't like the weather, just wait an hour, and it'll change. Fishing's been pretty good as of late. The crappie, where they've been pulling the lake, the crappie have been biting, but they've been deep. From what I'm hearing, they're 12 to 15 feet on timber. Really tight to the brush, though, just really tight to the wood cover. In the creek bends and the channel breaks and that kind of thing. That seems to be where they're finding them the most. Fishing's better on the south end than it is on the north end here by the dam and up on this main lake area. I think because there's just better water down on the south end. It's not as dirty down there as it is up here. And I think there's a little bit warmer maybe down on that end too. The catfish, it's been a little bit of everything. It's been a cut bait and a live bait bite. There's been a decent amount of it going on in the spillway, but it's all down at the lower end there where the current slows down, and there's a little feeder creek, if you will, a little branch that swings in from the side, and it's a little bit more slack water, and that seems to be where most of these guys bunch up and do the bulk of the catfishing. There's been some decent bank fishing here of late here in the main lake, and that's just because the water's getting down now to where there's a lot more areas that are accessible, and things are just getting more and more fishable than they were even a week ago. The musky fishing, from the guides I've talked to, it's been a really good spring. Some of them say even the best spring they've ever had, which I find it surprising considering, we had a pretty rough late February through March. The lake was up, muddy, cold, and all that kind of thing. But, some guys were able to find fish. There was a pretty good glide bait bite, pretty good jerk bait bite. Seemed like back early. There was a bit of a rattle trap bite, but that just never really seemed to take off this year. Right now, the fishing's been off a little bit. The fish here are in the latter stages of the spawn from what I hear and from what I see. They don't spawn here in a traditional sense like northern fish do, where it's, they lay eggs and they hatch out and all that kind of thing. But they do go through the motions of it. Every fish in this lake is, well, I won't say every fish, but I would say 99% of the fish here are a stocked fish. So they do go through the motions and all that. There's not the hatching off, if you will. But all the behaviors are still the same. So the big females, from what I gather, have already went through all this, and I just think we're in the latter stages. So hopefully with the PMTT in town this week and this cold front getting out of the way, maybe Saturday and Sunday, these fish will want to eat, and they'll have a pretty good tournament, catch a decent amount of fish. Evan's going to jump in here now, and he's going to talk a little bit about what the bass fishing are doing here, and then kind of give us an overview of what this high school tournament's going to be all about here this coming weekend.
The only sound more enjoyable than the plop of your lure breaking on the surface of the water is the high-pitched squeal of your reel as you pull in your first bass of the day. To help ensure the first catch on your line is a fish, try the SB57 by Bill Lewis, the creators of Rattle Trap. The SB57 features a wide coffin-shaped bill that enables the bait to easily drive through brush, stumps, rocks, and more. Plus, its computer chip construction gives it that tight wiggle you and your next bass are looking for. The SB57 is Mark Daniels Jr.'s signature lure and is available at Hook Outdoors Tackle Shop, located on Cave Run Lake, or rattletrap.com.
Yeah, so the bass fishing here at Cave Run has been really it's been consistently good over the past week. I've been on the water a lot over the past week or so, and it's been I've had several days catching over 20 bass. So I mean, just having the ability to get out there and go catch numbers, and I'm catching a few really good quality fish on top of that too. And I know of a lot of guys who are catching good quality fish, and I've even seen a couple big smallmouth come out. So the bass fishing has been really good over the past week. The water temperatures are they're rising. The fish are wanting to move shallow. They're getting into their spawn. They're getting into that time of year. They're still mainly in a pre-spawn mode because of the water temperature staying consistently in the upper 50s, and those fish really don't start spawning until the water consistently hits about 60 degrees. So once that water temperature starts hitting consistently 61, 62, that's when those fish will really get in. They'll start locking up on beds. You'll start seeing fish on beds and all that stuff. But the fish are shallow. The water's kind of dropping. It's receding out of the bushes now. But over the past week, the bush flipping bite's been really good. They've been shallow, and when they have bushes or trees or anything like that in the water, that's where they want to live. They're really cover oriented fish. So if they have any opportunity to live in cover like a bush or a tree or anything like that, that's what they're going to be around. But as the water's kind of receding out of those bushes, those fish will still be in the same areas and the shallow flats and all that stuff. But they'll just be in if you can find a lay down or maybe like a piece of standing timber or like a log or something like that, you can still catch fish there in the same areas just without the bushes. The best baits right now, you can always catch fish in the spring on a spinner bait, and really any blade combination. But for me, my best blade combination in the spring is just your traditional small Colorado and a willow. So just keeping it simple like that. I know a lot of guys throw a Colorado blade and an Indiana blade combination. I catch several fish on that too. So just kind of keep your spinnerbait simple. If the water's clear, throw a shad color. But if you get a little bit of stain or a little bit of dinge in the water, throw your chartreuse and white or your solid white or something like that. Square bill crankbaits, those are always good. Lipless crankbaits. And you can always catch a fish on a jig or flipping a creature bait or something like that. But that's kind of what the bass fishing's been doing here on Cave Run. Got actually word yesterday that we're going to have 85 boats in the tournament.
85 boats.
We could have had more, but KHSAA they're extremely strict on their deadlines, and if your team wasn't registered for the tournament by I think it was 8 a.m. Central Time on Monday morning, because the Federation runs it and they go out of Central Time there in Benton around Kentucky Lake.
Right.
So if you weren't in by 9 o'clock Eastern Time, but 8 o'clock Central Time, you were done.
So you just can't. They just wouldn't let just teams show up.
There were we heard over 15 teams that couldn't get registered because of that deadline right there. So KHSAA is really strict about that. So we could have had around 100 or maybe a little bit more, but that's kind of part of it. Got to meet your deadlines, but
Yeah, I know. It sucks for those kids, though. I
Right,
hate that
it
for 'em.
really does. It really does.
Yeah.
Especially where it's just a one time a year deal. Like in the point series that I'm fishing, we'll have by the end of the season we'll have 10 tournaments under our belts. So, but with this KHSA regional, you've just got one tournament to get it done. So it sucks for them. But I can kind of understand and kind of not. I'm kind of
I can see both sides of it, but in the end, I don't really see the big deal about it because
it's just kids going fishing.
It's just kids going fishing, and it's really, it's how those kids is they're dependent on their sponsors and coaches and stuff to get all those paperwork and those entry fees filed.
Right.
Entry forms, and it's just it's kind of out of their hands, and I think they could give them a little slack.
Right. Yeah.
But 85, let's see, 8,525. So just in tournament boats that we know of for sure, there's going to be in the neighborhood of
Around
210.
Yeah, a little bit over 200 boats.
So it's going to be busy in the pond come Saturday anyway.
It's going to be crowded, no, but it's setting up to be a good tournament. The fish have really ate. I fished on Tuesday, which was 2 days ago, and had a really good bag. I would have had enough to at least get top 5 or maybe even win the tournament. But I shook 2 of them off, and I seen a couple. So I was around the right fish on Tuesday. So I'm hoping I can kind of expand on the pattern today and tomorrow and see if I can keep it consistent.
This regional deal is it mostly kids from? I know I've seen some kids from Paintsville and from down around Pikeville. I mean, is it mostly like a Eastern Kentucky, Southeastern Kentucky kind of thing?
It's basically from what I can gather, if you take Kentucky and split it into quarters, because we've got 4 regions in KHSA. So there's one regional tournament that's on Barkley, one on Green River Lake, one on Cumberland, and then one on Cave Run.
Okay.
So they kind of split the state into quarters, and then they divvy it out and see who's fishing the regional where. Okay. So our regional is basically this is just kind of a rough guess. If you take the state of Kentucky and you put a line straight down through Winchester, you take Winchester and you just cut a line straight up, you go everywhere east. I'm pretty sure that's our region.
Okay.
I don't know the exact. There's probably county barriers and all that stuff, but just a rough estimate. You just take Winchester, split it straight north to south, and then go everything east, and that's basically our region. Okay. So we've got anywhere from like I said, Winchester. We're right here on Cave Run. We got Pike County. You can go up north and get Greenup County and all that stuff. So we've got a wide variety of counties coming.
Okay. Did you see? You said you've been out some this week. Have you seen a bunch of bait fish?
I have seen. I have seen a lot of bait. I fished shallow on Tuesday, but it's just kind of getting a feel for the lake, seeing what's going on. So, but when I was up shallow, I seen a lot of bait up shallow. The only thing was it was small. It was.
Did you say the other day you saw a bunch of big bait fish though?
Right, yeah. Last Tuesday I was practicing it was last Thursday I was practicing for a points tournament that I had on the cave this past weekend. And while I was fishing, I pulled into this pocket and I shook 2 or 3 fish off. And as I was leaving, because I didn't want to burn the fish up in that pocket, as I was leaving, I seen just a school of 4, 5, and 6 inch gizzard shad come out of the back of this creek. And just like big gizzard shad. Yeah. And but this past Tuesday when I was out, it was nothing but inch, 2 inch, maybe even 3 inch shad. Right. So I don't know what the difference there is, water temperature, whatever, anything like that. But it seemed like it kind of flip flopped. I seen all small shad up shallow Tuesday.
So if this weather. Of course, I mean, it's hard to predict this kind of thing, but if this weather holds out like it is, and we don't get a bunch more rain this spring, and they got this lake level kind of like summer pool now, and it stays here, you think we'll have a pretty good spring on the fishing?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the best springs I had as far as catching numbers of fish was I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. The lake was actually below summer pool in April. And I was catching them. I was up the river, and I was just catching them on a crankbait. Any kind of crankbait, square bill, 3XD, whatever. So just any kind of crankbait. And that was one of the best springs I had for numbers. So if they can get that lake down to summer pool, or even if I don't think they'll drop it any lower than summer pool, but just having it there, I think you'll for some reason we caught more numbers of fish that spring than we did any other spring.
I'm curious why, you watch some of these elite series and these MLF guys, and they fish like these power generating lakes, and they talk about fishing the current and everything, and how the fish can get turned on in the current. And this lake here doesn't have current as such like that, but when they're pulling it like they are now, where they're dropping at 8 or 10 inches a day, it seems to monkey with the bite. And I'm curious why it has a negative effect here, but yet at some of those, like we'll say, like a TVA lake, it has a positive effect. And these guys fish these patterns. I mean, they just know that at 2 o'clock when they start generating power, that if they go to the back side of a certain point where there's the right channel bend, that those fish are going to be staged up there, and they're going to just bust them.
Right. I think that the major difference is the river that we're on, because like a TVA lake, it's on the Tennessee River, and the Tennessee River is huge. The Tennessee River is a massive reservoir.
You think it's the volume of current they pull?
Right. Yeah. The thing is, they're not, when the TVA is pulling water, they're not pulling it for just lake level. They're not just dropping water. They're doing it to generate power and all that stuff. So when they're like the TVA, when they're pulling on, they have massive lakes on the TVA. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like Kentucky Lake's 170,000 acres or something like that. Pickwick's not much smaller than Gunnersville. All that, they're all massive reservoirs, and you can't really drop that much water that quick on a lake that big.
Right.
So it's different here because we can pull, like we were talking earlier, they're pulling 10 inches of water a day, so almost a foot a day. And the TVA is just a little bit different because they're pulling current, but they're pulling it for a different reason, and they're not pulling that much. It'd be different. Like, plus you got to kind of compare it. If the TVA, like on Kentucky Lake, if they start pulling 15,000 cubic feet a second, well, that might seem like a lot of water, but they also have 30 generators and 30 spillways at Kentucky Lake where we have
they may pull 15,000 CFS on the outflow, but I mean their inflow might be 125,000.
Exactly.
So it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah. But if they start pulling, maybe 50 or 60,000 on, Kentucky Lake or Pickwick or something like that, that's when it really changes, and you get to see, just that's a massive amount of water flowing out and flowing in and all that stuff. Whereas here on Cave Run, if they pull 4 to 5,000, that's just dropping the water at an
I guess
extreme
that's
pace.
the thing too. Is like where we go through the inflow and the outflow here. Like they may open it up and they may pull 40,000, but then where all those dams are on that river system there, I guess they're all kindly linked together. So they're pulling current, but it's really not monkeying with the water level because they may be pulling 30,000 at the Wilson Dam, and then they go on down and they pull 32 at the next one down, and so forth and so on. And it's current without really affecting the water level.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know for sure if that's how that works, but they have all that stuff timed and scheduled out, so I'd have to imagine that it's something like that. We may have to get one of these TVA, try to contact somebody like that. I think that'd be a pretty good show. I'd like to know how all that works.
That would be, because the current down there on the Tennessee River or any of those lakes, Kentucky, Gunnersville, Pickwick, all of those lakes on the TVA, the fish down there, especially in the summer, we're getting up to the post spawn and all that stuff. We're getting, we're a month away from there being really good offshore fishing and all that stuff. And those fish, when they get offshore, I was just specifically talking about the TVA, not really Cave Run, but they're so current oriented because you go down there and you can fish a tournament down there, just fishing a normal day. You can fish from say 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and you'll get a few bites out on a river ledge and all that stuff if you can find like a shell bed or maybe maybe like a log pile or something that's washing through. You can find that stuff and catch fish on it. But when they start pulling current, say they start pulling at 1 o'clock, that's when those fish really start getting in a feeding mode because you got to think they face straight into the current that's flowing straight into their face, and that current's going to be washing down, shad, shells, all that stuff, bluegill, whatever's down there. It's
And
gonna be
those
washing it down.
those systems like that, they have like a minimum amount of current in them anyway. I mean, it's a river.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a river.
It's flowing. I mean, like here, they can lock Cave Run down to where they're not running
it's just
anything
stagnant,
out,
yeah.
and it's basically a big pond. I mean,
Yeah.
it's literally a big pond. Whereas those places down there, I mean, I guess they could shut them off, but those are rivers. I mean, those are transport.
They're just
I mean,
big,
they
wide
have
rivers, basically.
Those are transport. I mean, they have barge traffic and all like that, and I guess they have a certain amount of current going through them just constantly.
Right. Yeah, they
that
do.
kind of thing.
They do.
Huh.
And another thing you can look at down there, it's fun to when you go down there on the Tennessee River, is they have those massive cans that are like 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
On the main river.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I've seen
that's
those.
where they have barge traffic and all that stuff rolling through. They have to have giant cans to where the barge can see where the channel is and all that stuff. Where like here on Cave Run, we've got 4 or 5 foot tall, skinny,
and they're not
buoys.
and they're not in the right spot anyway.
Right, yeah. The ones on the Tennessee River, they're massive. And you can go out there and you can fish on a river ledge, and you can be up there next to one of those cans. And one of the best things, if you don't have like the TVA app, like I got the TVA app on my phone, and like if I here in a couple weeks, if I qualify here at Cave Run and go to Kentucky Lake, I'll be just living on the TVA app to see, well, they're going to start generating 15,000 cubic feet a second of water at 12 noon. Maybe we need to go check on a few offshore holes, or they're not going to be pulling anything at all today, or maybe just a trickle. We'll fish shallow and see if that works. So it's kind of different, but a way you can do it is you can go out on the main river and you can just look at those cans, and you can just see the current washing by. And if you go out there and you look at the can, I mean, it's just sitting there.
Or it's tilted, or it's leaning.
If they really pull them cans, they'll lean a little bit, but you'll be able to see it riffle, just like an eddy behind the cans. It makes a little current break.
Yeah.
So
and it's funny
that's
too.
one way to check.
And it's funny too. I've talked to guys that have fished like Kentucky Lake pretty regular, and like talking about those cans, and you'll be fishing those ledges, and you'll be fishing in one depth of water, and maybe 10 foot over, it just drops off.
Straight down.
Yeah.
The thing about Barkley, I've ledge fished a lot on Lake Barkley, and you can go out in the center of the lake. I mean, just the dead center of the lake. You can have 1,000 yards of water going every side of you, and you'll be sitting in 4 foot of water. But if you walk 20 yards off of the end of the main river channel, you're in 60 feet of water.
Man, I've been there. We put in early one morning at the Devil's Elbow. And Lord, it's foggy and dark and everything. And we were cutting across through there, and it just kept getting shallower and shallower. And we could see this buoy can. I mean, it wasn't 25 yards away, and just couldn't get to it. It was so shallow, we just couldn't get there, and we had to back out. But once we got around and got over to where that buoy can was, I mean, it was like 50, 60 foot of water.
Yep.
And it's crazy.
Yep. The Tennessee, it's weird. It's a weird fishery, but it's such a good river system. 'Cause you've got it's so diverse. Every one of the lakes too. They're all amazing lakes. I mean, it's the best section of river. In them.
Yeah, from where it dumps out there, where Kentucky Lake and Barkley dump out, and then just go all the way back through it there to where they start.
It's all the best fisheries in the United States.
Yeah.
All just packed up on one river channel.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a really cool.
I mean,
system.
you could spend a lifetime just fishing those there. I mean,
Right.
you could spend a lifetime fishing one lake, but
Yeah.
you could spend a lifetime just fishing from one end of it to the other, and never run out of stuff to fish for, never run out of places to fish, and just
Right.
every day would just be a new adventure. I mean, it just really would. I mean, it'd just be a real life to live.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we're going to wrap up here today. Hope Evan has him some luck here and qualifies and gets to move on down to Kentucky Lake and see what he can do down there here in a week or two and everything. And, hopefully this weather's going to get lined up here, and we can, not have to build a fire in our fireplace every morning, seems like. But anyways, we appreciate you listening. Be sure to catch an upcoming episode here probably next week. I'm interviewing a couple of fisheries biologists, and we're going to talk about musky fishing, specifically here at Cave Run, and what's involved in their decision making, and what's in the plans, and what the numbers are and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be a pretty good show. So just be sure you tune into that. And as always, just get outdoors with Hook Outdoors.